Alright, imagine you wake up tomorrow, scroll through the news, and see the headline, "Oops, Antarctica's ice has completely vanished." Now, before you brush this off as just another clickbait article, let's be clear, this is not some minor inconvenience like running out of ice cubes for your lemonade. We're talking about 26.5 million cubic kilometers of frozen water suddenly liquefying and pouring into the ocean. That's enough to raise global sea levels by almost 60 meters, or, if you prefer the terrifying unit of measurement, that's about 200 feet. To put it in perspective, the Statue of Liberty, gone. Big Ben, underwater. The entire state of Florida? Hope you like snorkeling. So what does this actually mean? Let's break it down. First, where does all this water go? Well, the short answer, everywhere. The moment Antarctica's ice melts, all that water has one destination, the world's oceans. And unlike your bathtub, the ocean doesn't just hold extra water without consequences. It distributes it, pushing coastlines inland, flooding cities, and permanently altering geography. If you live in New York, London, or Mumbai, bad news. These places would be completely underwater. In fact, most of the world's major cities, Shanghai, Sydney, Tokyo, and Los Angeles, would be in serious trouble. You'd look at a map and think, wait, where did half the countries go? Oh, and if you're thinking, well, I don't live near the coast, I'm safe, right? Think again. Because this isn't just about sea level rise, it's about what happens next. The immediate chaos. Weather, ocean currents, and the oh no moment. Right now, Antarctica is basically Earth's giant air conditioner. It keeps ocean currents flowing smoothly, helps regulate global temperatures, and most importantly, it stays frozen. But take away all that ice, now you've got a planet in climate overdrive. The ocean currents that have been running like a well-oiled machine for thousands of years, they stop making sense. Right now, cold Antarctic water sinks and helps drive the circulation of ocean currents around the globe. Without that cold water input, those currents weaken or even stop. And that's bad because these currents are the reason we have relatively stable climates. Without them, Europe might suddenly get way colder while the tropics overheat. Places that rely on predictable weather patterns for farming, now dealing with extreme droughts or monsoons that never end. Oh, and hurricanes? Get ready for Category 6 storms, which, by the way, don't even exist on our current scale because we never expected to need a Category 6. Wait, did we just break the food chain? Problem. Antarctica might be far away, but the impact of its ice melting would reach your dinner plate very quickly. Why? Because the ocean isn't just water. It's an entire ecosystem that depends on stable temperatures. Right now, cold Antarctic waters help support krill, tiny shrimp-like creatures that are the base of the food chain for whales, fish, and seabirds. Melt all the ice? The krill population crashes, which means whales, fish, and everything else depending on them, also in trouble, which then means our food supply takes a massive hit. If you like sushi, seafood, or, are not starving, this is a major problem. Cities disappear, and new maps are needed. Okay, so back to the 60-meter sea level rise. What does that actually look like? Well, say goodbye to Miami, New Orleans, and basically all of the Netherlands. Entire nations, like the Maldives, would simply cease to exist. And don't even get me started on Bangladesh, one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Over 160 million people live there, and most of the country would be underwater. Where do they go? Where do millions of climate refugees go? Even in countries that aren't fully submerged, inland migration would skyrocket. You think traffic is bad now? Try squeezing hundreds of millions of displaced people into whatever land remains. Property values would skyrocket, governments would scramble to figure out where to put everyone, and international tensions? Through the roof. The bonus disaster, ancient diseases awakening? Now, as if a climate apocalypse wasn't enough, here's something extra terrifying. Antarctica has been frozen for millions of years, which means it's been holding on to things that should have stayed frozen. Like what? Oh, ancient viruses and bacteria that humans haven't encountered in tens of thousands of years. If Antarctica melts completely, those long-trapped microbes could get released into the ocean and atmosphere. Maybe they'd be harmless. Maybe they'd spread uncontrollably, causing pandemics we're completely unprepared for. Either way, not great. Could anything good come from this? Okay, fine, let's try to look on the bright side, because surely something good would come out of this, right? Well, kind of. For one, Antarctica itself would finally be accessible. Without all that ice, it'd be a gigantic, newly exposed continent with tons of untapped resources. Scientists estimate that Antarctica has huge deposits of oil, gas, and minerals buried under all that ice. But exploiting those resources could make climate change even worse, so not exactly a win. And then there's the fact that new land would open up, but only in places that used to be completely frozen, like Greenland and parts of Canada and Russia. Maybe people could migrate there, but it wouldn't replace the millions of square kilometers of lost land. So, how screwed are we? Here's the thing. Antarctica's ice is melting, but thankfully not instantly. Right now, it's melting gradually, which still isn't great, but at least we have time to prepare. But if it somehow melted suddenly, that would be catastrophic on every possible level. Entire nations would disappear, billions of people would be displaced, global weather patterns would be unrecognizable, and civilization as we know it would barely hold on. So, next time you see Antarctica on a map, just remember it's not just a giant, frozen wasteland. It's holding back a planetary disaster. Let's hope it stays that way. If you enjoyed this wild thought experiment, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into absurd science. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.